Hi, I am Maureen Micki Carroll, and we are authors with an axe. We are writing on the edge, and we're here today to talk to you about that. Amber?
Yes, I am Amber Fraley. I'm a writer. I am a journalist. And what else, Mickey? And I'm an editor.
I'm Ellie Bockert Augsburger. I'm a cover designer and I own and work with creative digital studios. I'm not cool enough to be an author, but I like being able to design covers for them.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty darn
Oh, thank you.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And as authors with an axe, sometimes an axe to grind, sometimes an editing axe. Because I do a lot of editing and I do axe a lot. But, having a good book cover just pulls you right in.
Oh, yeah.
I
It's
try.
essential.
It's
Yeah,
a,
I mean, we all judge a book by its cover, and I
Mhm.
think everyone should because it helps keep me employed.
yeah. And it's so weird. It's so much a part of our vernacular that can't judge a book by its cover. I don't know how long, I haven't done any research to see how long we've been saying that, but do you want to venture a guess at centuries?
Um, I don't know if it would be that old, would it?
At
Just
least
because
as
like
long as the printing press. I mean,
because
The
for the longest time
Gutenberg?
all books kind of looked the same, you know? Like when did book covers design become unique? So
Well,
I
I
don't
think
know. That's a good question.
there's I won't remember the name, the Bally something book that was illustrated in like the ninth century. It's a Celtic book. I used to work at a library, and it beautifully illustrated in like the ninth century by the in Ireland.
Oh wow, that would be interesting to see.
Yeah,
All those illuminated
according
texts are beautiful.
yeah.
according to the internet, the phrase came about in about 1867.
Okay.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Interesting,
I
interesting.
tell people that they're not actually talking about books, and you should actually judge books by covers.
Right, and
So,
we do anyway. I mean, we do
yeah,
subconsciously whether we want to or not.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, absolutely.
Is that okay, Mickey?
It is, but we're going to interview her.
Whoa, okay. Well, that's what I was getting ready to do. Sorry.
No, you have to wait on pins and needles. But
Okay.
I mean, we've got three topics, and the first one is just to kind of generally talk about the importance of book covers before we dig into Ellie really harshly.
Okay. We're not going to dig into Ellie harshly.
I want people
Oh, I
to
am
really,
prepared. I am prepared for the tough questions and conversations.
I mean, we need to know. We need to know. I have found myself struggling with book covers, and some book covers seem to come easy, because it seems easy to represent the book. But sometimes I think maybe there's a simplicity that only a really good cover designer actually notices.
Well, yes and no. Well, I get what you're saying. I am of the opinion that anyone can do any kind of creative pursuit. Um, I'm kind of like the chef from Ratatouille. Anyone can cook, anyone can design a book cover, and it's just about doing it with intention. So it's a difference between, you know, thinking anyone can do it and actually taking the time to learn it. And the thing that I remember being told in art school that always stood out the most is that the hardest skill to learn is how to look at it. And so I've been designing book covers for 13, 14 years. And coming into it with that mindset, I look at book covers differently. And I love going through Barnes and Noble or the library and just looking at covers. And I'll take pictures of ones that I find like really intriguing. And I'm like, this is for my Pinterest board when I need inspiration. And it's there are just like the little things that you see, not just from a design standpoint, but also from an artistic standpoint. And um, I was just telling someone the other day too that the thing that people forget the most about when creating images is the importance of light, uh, and how light and contrast can really add depth to an image as well. But simple designs are also incredibly difficult to pull off because you have less wiggle room to put in the elements you need to express what you want. So simple ones that really pull it off are just so impressive. I will sit and look at a cover and be like, "Oh my goodness, this is incredible. Why didn't I think of this? This is fantastic." And my husband will be like, "There's not even any pictures on it. It's just words laid out." I'm like, "But it's brilliant. Do you not see this?" And of course, now that I'm saying that, I don't have one that comes to mind, but um,
No, I
yeah,
love that. I love those some of the newer books with the big blocky letters. I've even seen some where the letters are sideways. And so it's not, they're really using the typography as the art, which
yeah,
is fascinating, a fascinating skill. You have to really understand at least a little bit about typography to be able to pull that off.
yeah, and I'll be the first one to admit that fonts are the hardest part. I'll be putting together a full design and have this beautiful illustration and photoshopped. I call it my Frankenstein creations, where I've Frankensteined like 5 or 6 different stock photos together. And I'll be looking at it and it'll take me 3 hours to settle a font. I'll just be scrolling through like, no, that looks like garbage. No, not that one. No, not that one. Because the font can also just drastically change the vibe. And
Oh yeah.
it seems like such a small thing, but it really does. And I've got my IT guy loves me. He's like, please tell me I don't have to back up your font collection because he's like, I might be upgrading your computer, but I am not installing your fonts. That's a you problem. And I was like, no, that's okay. I'll just drag them all over and then I leave it for the night. And by the next day, they're all installed.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's,
it's
that's so cool. I love that. And Amber, your book cover is simple in that sense that Ellie's talking about. It's, for the bug diary is the one I'm thinking of, but I mean, also Kansas Gen Existential. But I really love, the title, the way the title works with the cover. Your cover designer, uh, Laura, right?
Lana Grove.
Lana Grove, thank you. She did just a really interesting job with that. I think it goes to what Ellie was talking about the simplicity of a design um, just working so well.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And I've read that the thing with the typography getting so large on covers is to make it so that you can read them as thumbnails online.
yeah,
So,
that's oh, I'm so sorry. I think my phone just went off. I know better. I just turned it on. Sorry.
oh, no
Um,
worries.
yeah, that's another thing I tell people a lot of times too, is like you need to make sure you're looking at it this big on your phone too.
Uh-huh.
Um, because you'll see some covers with like this beautiful, thin, like scripty font. And I'm like, no one's gonna be able to read that. They're beautiful in person and sometimes they work, but I'm like, no one's gonna read that.
Right.
You're selecting based on a title, and a big part of a big part of this, isn't it, Ellie, that you got only so many elements. The canvas an artist is working with is small on a book cover. If you put too
Yes.
much on there, everything's lost in the jumble. If you put the right elements on there, there's only a handful of them, and every one of them is heavily weighted. Is that? A good way of,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Sometimes you got to learn how to edit it down for your wish list of things. And I get a broad range of requests from people about stuff. Like sometimes I'll get super specific requests. Sometimes I'll be like, I have no idea what I want. Like, what do you think? I have a couple of ideas. Um, and it's actually kind of funny because on my site I have my standard package, like I give you, we have a conversation, I do research, we have a talk, I show you what you want to see, I throw in a couple more options and we just keep going at it. And then I have another one that I call it the carte blanche package. And it's severely discounted. And it's just, we have a conversation. You tell me about your book. I ask about like a couple of things for you. I do my research and then I present you with the cover that I think will work best. You just let me do my thing. And if you don't like it, we can roll that over into the standard package. No problem. In all these years, I've only ever had two people ask me for it. And that they both loved them, so that worked. But it's a you know a balancing act between letting the creative do their thing and also letting the client direct it. Uh,
boy, I
it
get
can
that.
it can be a bit of a challenge sometimes balancing them.
I so get that. And it's really real for me as a publisher because people I've discovered, and I'm not the only one. I've now talked to many publishers who have the same opinion. People who write books and who are amazing writers. I mean, just amazing authors, great at turns of phrases, or some people that are English teachers or professors and stuff. If you ask them to write their own book description, they will not be able to do it. And and yet they want to. And I think all of us as authors want to try and describe our books, but it's a very specific skill. And I think that um, as a cover designer, your skill, you've seen things with eyes that an author can't have because they're so sucked into their book that's why they can't write the book description.
Yeah.
They can't see from the outside. And I think the same is true for the cover, so that, authors will come to me with ideas for the cover, and either the idea is really, far out, which may be good in some situations, or it's the basic cover that people of my generation were raised with, which is much more like a college paper where you have a title at the top in the middle, and then you have a subtitle in smaller font below it, and some kind of picture right there, and then the author's name. And that's what people designed in their minds, people that are my age and maybe younger too. But yet you don't see book covers that look like that anymore. Can you talk to that a little bit? Because I find that interesting that people still expect that, even though when they buy a book, it doesn't look like that.
So I've never gotten a request for something like that, actually. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, I have.
No, the one I used to get a lot was I haven't gotten it for a while, thankfully. But and no shade to anyone who listening who has this cover, but it's usually a silhouette of someone on the beach at sunset. And when I first started, I made a few of those covers because these authors were insistent. And, something I learned from working with art directors at major brands, when I first got out of college, is you always show the client what they ask for. And then you show them alternatives and try to gently nudge them. Like, this is what you said you wanted, but this was what I came up with. And I think that this should be an option that we should explore. And so if you could gently push them over to the way you think it should go. Um, I occasionally will have clients that resist that gentle push. And so I do have a few of the sunset silhouette on the beach. And I remember one author, I was like, does it take place on a beach? No. Then why is it on a beach? Like, why are we doing this? And the last time I got that request from someone, I was like, no, I'm sorry. If you're going to insist that that's what you want, I think you're going to have to find somebody else. I've made too many of those and I can't do that anymore. It's overdone. And I don't want your cover to look like five other ones I've made. So trying to make the silhouette thing unique is a difficult challenge. So, but yeah, the other hard thing about when authors have a very specific idea in mind is, they're thinking, they're coming at it from, well, this is my book. And, you spend years sometimes writing this book, planning it out, editing it. It's a baby. You want to present your baby. I get that in theory, because again, I'm not a writer. But so you spend all this time envisioning what it's going to look like too when it's all done. And there is something to honor about that as well. But an author's coming at it as, well, this is what my book's about. So this is what I want it to look like. And I'm coming at it from more of a marketing standpoint on top of the art. Like, okay, so this is what your book is about. How do we sell it?
Right.
And so it's also a different mindset. And the other thing too is I have the distance, like you said. I've not read the book. I know nothing about the book until an author approaches me. I often get asked if I will read the book before I design it, and I have turned those down because I don't have the time. Reading a book, if you follow whatever the suggestion is that Amazon tells you on the Kindle, like it's an extra 6, 8 hours that I have to find outside of the work time. Like, are you going to pay me to read it? Because
Right.
that's time, and that's a fairly decent amount of time. And when people think of it that way, you know, they kind of understand it a little bit more. But the other thing too is, if an author is coming to me, I know what questions to ask to get the information I need. But also, like, authors need to know how to pitch their books to people too, like knowing the blurb. So, I will read your blurb. If you've got like special descriptions, I'll read that so I can draw things. But um, yeah, it's a little bit of a balancing act from the two perspectives of envisioning it for however long and me going, okay, well, we're not doing the sunset silhouette on a beach.
Amber, I stifled you, and you should ask your questions because we're essentially the book
Yeah,
cover
we're
topic
essentially
is the book cover topic blends in with Ellie. We can't help it.
yeah, and I do have questions. So I have so many questions now. So does reading the book help you or hurt you? Do you think?
Um,
I mean, I understand it's not part of your business practice, but if you've read a book,
so there have been times where that is helpful. I have read a couple of books, mainly because they're friends of mine.
right?
And so I was reading their book anyway to be supportive. And, they wanted a beta reader. But again, that's not something I do standard because then everybody would ask me for it and I can't.
Right.
That's too much. Um, and it does help because then I can get some little details in there, you know.
Okay.
But that's also like another thing I ask. Um, I'll be like, hey, are there any like little details, any like Easter eggs I can hide in here?
Okay.
Anything little specific there? Because those are always fun when you've got like a little detail in the design that blends in, but then when they're done reading, they see it and like, oh, look at that. They hid that in there the whole time. Um, it doesn't really I guess it didn't really change how I handled the project or help or hurt in any way, but it made me feel more connected and invested in it, maybe a
Okay.
little bit. So, not to say that I'm not invested in every cover that I design, but
Sure, sure.
it was definitely, I was thinking about it longer. So,
Sorry, I don't mean to look distracted. I actually took down some questions and then I couldn't remember what they were.
oh no, you're
Um,
fine.
I'm reportering right now. So how many authors like do you estimate come to you with some kind of idea, and how many of them have no clue at all what they
Um,
want?
I would say probably 1 out of 5 authors don't have any ideas. Most of them come to me with ideas and like, hey, I'm thinking something like this, I'm something like that. Um, it's actually more rare now than it used to be where somebody comes to me and says, I want this, I want exactly this, don't give me anything else.
Okay.
That's thankfully more rare than it used to be. Um, but
Well,
yeah,
that's good.
yes, yes, because those jobs are so difficult because you can, if someone could figure out how to put exactly what they're visioning on paper, they would, but
Right.
they can almost never articulate exactly what it should look like either. And
Right.
I had a client once, this was years and years and years and years ago, tell me, that font is just a little too big. Can you bring it like half a size down? And I was just like, you want me to move it from 36 to 35 and a half, like font
Yeah.
size? I was like, that's what you're asking me for real? And so I literally just waited an hour and sent back the same image because I was like, that is the dumbest request I've ever gotten. And I just, here,
Here's
okay.
some
See,
micromanagement.
yeah. She was like, see, doesn't that look so much better? You would be lost
Yes.
without me. And I was like, yes, you're right. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, and yeah, that was going to be my next question because my friend Lana, who did my covers, she tried doing some working, freelancing uh illustration work like you do, and she finally gave up because she would get customers, this was about 15 years ago now, who were never happy. Like she would give them 5 different options and
Oh,
nothing was good enough. You know what I mean? And like the back and forth and back and forth and back and forth didn't end. I mean, do you run into that?
um, when I first started, I told people they had a limit on how many revisions I would do,
Okay.
so that they would be forced to think of what they were asking for. And, like if they were like, no, this color is not right, I would send them multiple options for the color, so like it wouldn't eat up, they wouldn't have to ask for one more change on the same thing. Um, so that helped a lot, like telling people like you have to sit and think about it and be concise in your feedback to give me what you need to be able to communicate with me. Um, and sometimes that communication process can be a little bit tricky. I am lucky that for the most part, I don't get too many difficult customers anymore. Um, I'm also fairly good at sniffing them out. uh, when I'm dealing with somebody in an email and I'm getting a sense for, oh, this is not going to be a fun one to do. Um, I'll just tell them I don't think I'm a right fit for the project and
Okay.
wish them well. Um, at one point, I did have other people in my life that would be like, hey, this client contacted me. I don't really want to do their project. Does anybody else want it? But I don't have anybody else to do that with anymore either because a few of my friends who used to do illustrative work or other design work, they've since moved on to other things. So, but yeah, I've been pretty lucky in the past few years. So, and even the difficult customer that I had recently, um, it was easy to manage. I don't know, it didn't faze me too much. And I had another customer or another client who was wonderful, absolutely delightful to work with, but also kind of a little nitpicky. And I don't like that term because it seems negative. She was so polite every time she asked. She's like, this looks amazing. I love it. Something's a little off about this, though. Can I see a couple options with this? I haven't decided how I feel about it. And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem, because you're so nice. I can't say no. And like, you know, the old saying of you get more flies with honey. I
Yeah.
feel like that goes for me. Flattery will get you everything with me.
Well, I know
So,
that,
but
there are some authors that are never finished editing. And, there's a boundary. And as a publisher, I have to, at a certain point, say, there's a boundary, there's a cutoff, and there has to be a place where we stop editing. Especially, I mean, we're not talking about finding misspellings. We're talking about, I think I like that word better. At a certain
Right.
point, you got to stop. And usually that means when you go to publication. And I've noticed that there are a few authors that want to keep editing post publication. And I wonder if you've had any uh, book cover designs where they came to you afterwards and said, "Oh, I want to change," when you're really late into the process.
depending on where they're at in the process and what change they make, I charge money.
Right. There you go.
So, so there was a situation a couple years back where a publisher I had been working with had passed and his business partner was taking over and things fell apart. And I had designed covers for so many of those authors. And I reached out to all of them and said, as this situation resolves itself and you all get your publishing rights back, I would love for you to keep using your cover. I will gladly update them for free. So,
Wow.
Nice.
changing them for, the new platform they were going to and taking the old logos off, updating the ISBNs, because that was like 20 books in my portfolio suddenly out of publication. I was like, it wasn't completely altruistic. And almost all of them have taken me up on it. Um, so that was good. And it's little things like that. If you've got just a quick little update, like, hey, I'm changing publishers, or a publisher picked me up and I need their logo on it. I mean, if it takes me all of 5 minutes, I don't charge. But the more complex requests where they've decided they want to swap out images and stuff. It's like, okay, well, it's gonna be a whole new project, and I'm going to have to charge for that. And also, I have a wait list for things that take more than 5 minutes. Um, and it's not really a problem I've encountered terribly much. So,
Well, it sounds like
I
you've got good boundaries too for dealing with people.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. But I think I've also been lucky in that, for the most part, over the last decade, I have worked with a lot of wonderful people and very few difficult.
Amber, do you have other questions too?
Do you just do book covers? Do you ever do like, I don't know. Well, I guess people don't really make CDs anymore, do they? Or do
I
you do magazine covers or
I did an album cover a few years ago. I've done a handful of logos. I make websites for authors who need them.
oh cool.
Um, I have not done a magazine, but I have done a catalog.
Oh wow.
So uh, I've done various ads, mostly for the family business. So, but I can do just about anything people like. I tell people if you have a request for something you want done, you can ask me, and if I think it's something I'm capable of, I'll tell you. I'd be happy to take it on. I love a challenge. Book covers are my favorite, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Do you work in like Illustrator?
I use Photoshop.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so Photoshop is my wheelhouse. I love that software. I've been using it for a very long time, and I do use um InDesign when I'm making the catalog.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
but for anything involving images, Photoshop is my go-to. Um, Illustrator was something I've never really had the opportunity to learn. I probably should. Um, I actually went to college to study animation.
Oh,
So, so doing CGI and that level of work and that kind of thing was what I officially trained for in school. But Photoshop
oh,
was also a big part of that too, because it's kind of like a supplemental. There's lots of things you could do in Photoshop to assist doing it in other software. Um, but Illustrator was one I never really learned, and it's
okay.
probably something I should learn to do, but that's all vector based, which you can't really a lot of what I do is photo based. So Illustrator wouldn't be ideal for those a lot of
Oh,
the
okay.
time.
So for your covers, do you ever draw and then scan anything in, or I'm just wondering about your process.
So a lot of my book covers, I work with stock photos and I Frankenstein them together.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and then I do the digital painting over them to make them look cohesive so that it looks like a full image and not a clearly Frankenstein digital collage. Um, and then I will paint over that, do
Okay.
various things. Photoshop is such a powerful tool,
It
and it's
is.
got different built-in features and filters you can do. So I do have a few illustrative covers in my portfolio. Um, and some of those are with elements I drew myself. Uh, and a lot of times when I draw things, I start with the photograph. Like I Frankenstein my image the way I want it, and then I draw and use that as my base to
Oh.
draw over top of it. So, but I don't know how artists survive without the Control Z function. I was like, if
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was doing this
writers
with pen
rely
and
on it
ink,
too.
I was doing this with pen and ink, I'd be crying and crumpling the paper versus, now I could just be like a little keystroke and that little line I don't like is gone. So,
Right, right.
yeah.
Oh,
For
cool.
real. For real. Well, I realize, because we kind of jumped right into the interview part of this, because we're loosey-goosey authors with an axe. Um, I never introduced actually Ellie with her bio, which I would like to do now, if you don't mind.
Oh,
So I'm just going to read your bio real quick. Ellie Augsburger has spent the past decade crafting book covers with passion and precision at Creative Digital Studios, and you can reach her there. It's creativedigitalstudios.com, right?
yep.
Yep. Armed with a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Digital Art and a professional background in CGI, she has been fortunate to channel her creative passions into crafting captivating book covers, which we love, and merging her love for art with her love for books and reading. Over the past years, she has had the honor of collaborating with authors and publishers to visually interpret their stories. It's a journey that's allowed her to explore diverse genres and themes, infusing each cover with a unique blend of creativity and storytelling, which is what I also love about it. I mean, really um, key elements on there, and like you say, not too much. So I really love what you do. And
Thank you.
you want to tell us some more about your process and how you work with authors and how they can get in touch with you?
Oh, sure. So the first thing I do with any new project is um, I start by just talking with the author. I want to find more about their book. And the most important question I ask authors coming to me is um, essentially, if someone absolutely loves your book, what is Amazon or Goodreads going to recommend they read next? Because so much of what we do is online, you got to incorporate that into your thinking. And the reason why that question is so important and why it's my starting point for any new project is because you want your book to look like it belongs on that shelf. You want your book to look like it belongs on the display at Barnes and Noble or at the library with those other authors and other works. But you want yours to be the first one those readers pick up. So I go through and I just allow myself to scroll through Amazon, or I go to the bookstore and I walk through and I look for the books that they've mentioned. And I take note of what are some key things about the design that stands out to me. And then I look at all three of them or more. If you tell me more, that's great too. I look at them all laid out and what do they have in common? And uh, that gives me an idea of what is attracting those readers to those books. Because most of us can look at a cover and say, oh, yeah, that's a mystery, or oh, that's a romance. And even if we can't particularly define why we know that, we do. We feel it in the design. And my job as the book cover designer is to use elements to convey that message to someone who's just walking by your book. What exactly they're on, they're signing up for by picking it up. And your book cover is your first impression. It's so if I'm doing my job right, it's also the foot in the door. Somebody's going to see your book cover. I want them to be curious about it enough to pick it up and read the back. And if I've done that, my job is done. That's that I've accomplished my task. They've picked up your book. After that, it's the written word that gets it through the door. So um, that's what I start with. And that's my springboard. And it's I need to know what attracts the readers that are going to love your book, because the people who are going to love your book are the ones you want reading it, because they're the ones that are going to leave the rave reviews. So knowing your audience is really that's the starting point. And then it's research. And then it's talking more detail. Like I said earlier, I don't read every book I do because of just time. I don't have that. But asking about specific themes, any details that jump out that are crucial, like I did a book cover for one of those authors from the other publishing company. Somebody I hadn't designed their cover for reached out to me and said, I would like a new cover, actually, since I'm self-publishing now. And I don't remember what her cover looked like before, but one of the main elements of the story was following this dog. And I was like, why is there not a dog on your cover? Like, it's one of the main things about the book. It seems odd that it wouldn't be there. And and then as we're coming up with ideas, um, so the author can give me their idea, and then I might come up with some more ideas while I'm brainstorming and researching. And then, I might ask for more information to fill in the ideas that I have. Like if I'm going to put a character on the cover, I might ask for a description of the character, because if she's a brunette and I've got a redhead on the cover, that's not going to work, so once we get that conversation going, I usually send over a few rough concept ideas. And by rough, I usually mean like the stock images are watermarked. There might be, it's not going to be as polished as the final one will be, but it will be enough to show you, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And here's a couple of different options we can go in. Um, and what do you think? From there, I ask the authors pick one for us to fully develop. If I've missed the mark on all of them, which I think has only ever happened once, it's usually a matter of, give me half of this one and half of this one and smash them together and see what we come up with. And then we just keep going back and forth until they're happy with it because, authors spend so much time writing their book. You deserve to be happy with how it looks like, like, so, I at this point now too, because I'm more confident in my skills and I've refined a good process and I know I'm lucky to get happy clients. I put unlimited revisions on uh that final concept. And there's only been one time in the last few years where I've had to say, so this is getting out of hand. And I'm going to really need you to
Wrap this thing
pick
up.
something. I have other things to do. Um, um, but yeah, it's all about the communication and the starting point.
Well,
And then it's like a puzzle to try to like, what's the best way to do this?
right. This has been so fascinating to hear about this from, you know, the expert in the area and pick your brain. Thank you for letting us dig into this and really get into some details of cover design.
Oh, I'm very happy to do it. And thank you for asking me. I could talk about it all day. And if you have any more questions, I hope you'll email me.
Will you come back and do another video with us?
I would be happy to do so.
I believe that when we get feedback, I'll ask people, go ahead and send us your questions. I'll put Ellie's information below in the YouTube video. And if you want to send your questions, we'll interview Ellie again. We'll get some more feedback on book cover design.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Amber, you want to say anything to wrap things up?
No, I think that's a great idea, Micki. That, you know, that's a great idea. But yeah, thank you, Ellie. So interesting to hear this from your perspective. And thank you for doing what you do. I mean, you haven't designed anything for me, but thank goodness that there are people like you who can bring because a lot of us writers we're visually impaired, not visually impaired, but you know what I mean, we're design impaired. That's what I mean, design impaired. And
Well,
so
I'm the opposite. I'm like, ooh, pretty picture. But asking me to write anything,
right, but that's what we need.
I
We need you to translate our words into pictures. Thank you for doing that.
I love it. Thank you for joining us on Authors with an Axe.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you again another time soon.
All right.
All right.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
guys. I don't know how to end it. Well, I guess we'll have to keep talking. No, I'm joking. Bye.